Western scholar, and it's attributed to Hippolytus, who lived in the 100 to 200, late 100s, early 200 period. And it has a section on the Essenes, and most of it repeats Josephus almost word for word. But he includes new information not in Josephus. And I think this is the original Josephus Josephus tells you in the Jewish War that he wrote a book for his compatriots in the East. And he translated that book later when he was in Rome to frighten them from revolting against Rome. Well, when he was in Rome, he translated that into Greek, which is the present Jewish war. And in the Hippolytus version of these things, aside from all the other stuff in Josephus, he says two different things. There is a group called Sicarii Essenes and Zealot Essenes. Wow, that is a bombshell that just everyone ignores. Where did he get this idea that there's an extremist Essene group? See, to my mind, that's what the scrolls are. See, some people in the original research about the scrolls thought we were dealing with zealots. Others thought we were dealing with Essene literature. The scrolls don't say that they're Essene or zealot, but the characteristics look like a combination of zealots and Essenes. Okay, here we go. And two things that he puts in there are so revealing. He says at one point that these people, these Zealot or Sicarii Essenes, I don't know how he distinguishes them from each other, I'm not sure he does exactly. These are the Sicarii Essenes, the terrorist Essenes. Sicarii is a term Josephus uses, that's also used in the book of Acts at one point when Paul escapes from the Jewish mob in the temple. The Roman officer says to him, "Are you one of these Sicarii that recently went out into the wilderness with 300, 400 people," and so on and so forth? That's the Greek Sicarii. Sicarii is after the hidden dagger they used under their garments to cut the throats of their political enemies. They are the original assassins. Again, it's gone into Islam also. In fact, I think it's the curved dagger you see all Arabs wearing today. It comes from the Roman Sika, a short knife with a curve to it, and that's what they all wear. They're all wearing that everywhere, all over the Arabian culture sphere, even now. I saw a piece about Yemen where they're so proud of their knife that each one, wants a prettier knife than the other guy has. In any event, I don't think these were just carrying that knife for that purpose. In my new book, I tell you that Christian literature speaks about a Sicarius. Origen, in particular, knows that term. Origen is a Christian early church father writing in the 3rd century. And he says there's not a Sicarius in our time that is not, badly treated by the courts and so on and so forth. And for him, Sicarius is somebody who has circumcised himself. And I think that the knife that they were taking doubled as a circumciser's knife and an assassin's knife. Now, I'm not big on trying to force people to do anything, but it certainly is interesting in this period. So now we go back to Hippolytus says that the Sicarii or Zealot Essenes, if they hear someone talking about the Torah of Moses, who is not circumcised, I'm not advocating that these are not nice people. We have not nice people all around here. It's not all liberal age here. Who is not circumcised, why would they want the person to be circumcised? Because the sign of adherence to the covenant of Moses is circumcision. How can you talk about the covenant of Moses? They're saying if you've not first come in under the covenant of Moses, the first, so it isn't as extreme and silly as you may think, the first sign of the covenant of Moses for a male is circumcision. Now, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do that, but these people say you can't, just like Muslims today say, you can't talk about Muhammad or we'll lop your head off. Right? They're saying you can't talk about the law of Moses, so that they would offer that person a choice on circumcision or death. That's what we still have in Islam. Like going down the streets of Baghdad or Afghanistan today. In any event, so I say, so none of this is original in Islam, is what I'm trying to say. This period is so rich that we're dealing with. So, he said that wasn't in Josephus. Who would be an example of that? Paul. Paul was talking about the law. They would want to be sure that he was correctly an adherent of the law before he could discuss the law, and that his followers would be such. And Paul says that he has, in Book of Acts, he says that he had Timothy circumcised, or Titus, I think it was Timothy, circumcised, so he could go on his travels with it. He actually says that in the Book of Acts. Otherwise he wouldn't be acceptable. And then Paul says in Galatians, and when the party of the circumcision came down, well, who were the party of the circumcision? Not just Jews. Those demanding circumcision before you can talk about these issues relating to the law of Moses. And who's the head of the party of the circumcision according to Paul? Jesus' brother James. Who Paul refers to, and so does Peter in the 1st and 2nd Galatians. That's why I read you that material. Now, if James is the party of the circumcision, is he the party of the Sicarians? In my view, he is. That's what Paul is implying. And then Paul spends the rest of Galatians so upset about circumcision, he almost goes crazy. By the time of chapter 4 and 5, he says, tell those who are troubling you, I wish they would cut themselves off. And I told you what that meant, cut their own gonies off. Really ribald, but very painful joke. Okay. That's one thing Hippolytus says. So to me, that's really, and the other interesting things that he says, Hippolytus, he talks about the Essenes taking part in the recent war with the Romans, the Sicarii, Zealot Essenes. By the way, who was responsible for retreating to Masada and doing the suicide there, if you all know anything about that episode? You know, while the war was going on, one party of Zealots had their leader killed. He was a descendant of Judas the Galilean early on, the one who started this whole movement. And Josephus tells you that at some point they were assassinating high priests in the 50s. And I told you they assassinated the brother of the Ananus that took part in the trial of Jesus. And the son of the Ananus who took part in the trial of Jesus, and the brother of that Ananus, Ben Ananus, who was responsible for the death of James. Now, why would the Sicarii be on the same side as the James? You follow me? Why would the Ananus Ben Ananus take vengeance on James, presumably for having the death of his brother Jonathan?